Welcome back, everybody, to Rebuilding Astroworld. Today, my goal is to work out this front bridge entrance plaza design. I know I'm going to have to work with some elevation changes because this is an overpass over a freeway. So I'm going to be messing around with that. I'm going to be building basic designs. What you'll see the first pass through the park is when I build buildings, they're just going to be the basic structure of the buildings. We're not going to do the details. We're not going to do the final results, but we're going to be like, okay, there's a building here. Let's build the shape of the building. And we're going to go through the bridge. We're going to put up fences. We're going to put some foliage. We're going to do supports. But just know that it will not be the final product itself. We are going to have another pass through. That's just how you have to do these big parks, because by the time you're done with this and then you do something back here, you might be like, oh, that was a great idea. Let's apply it to over here. So let's get into it and start building this bridge. Okay, so for the time being, I'm going to build the platform that the bridge is going to be on, and then I'll detail it a little bit, and then I'm going to drop the land. I think the idea is we're going to have this bridge about 3 or 4 levels above, so like 20 feet, I think, in game sense, and we'll work it from there. So when we zoom in, if we're going to make this bridge, you know, just a little bit thick and then put the supports under here, I think this is about the height we're going to want. Yeah, the edges look really rough, but that's because it's going to be extended. And then over here, we're going to be giving it a slight incline up to the level of the park. So the park is probably going to stay at this height overall, and I'm going to have to make like a slight decline into this area. But when we look at it this side, I feel like I'm going to drop the track for the trains just down a little bit so that it goes right under this building in here, and then have a gentle slope, because what this is the freeway, these are surface streets, and this surface street, for example, right here, goes straight up into the parking lots that are going to take place out here. So I've got to make this all at one level, and then maybe we do some slight slopes. That might be some more advanced slope techniques in the future. But for now, we're going to make it look pretty uniform, and what I'll probably do is just extend this all the way to the edge of the map. So it looks like a straight line, and that's not going to look good unless you change it up a little bit here and there and add some more organic shapes to it. But like I said, rough draft, so we're going to have to deal with it right now, and then change it up later on. So I'm liking this kind of gentle slope, and we'll figure out how we can make it even more gentle in the future. Okay, so for now it looks like it's just sort of like a floating bridge. I'm going to be looking at some pictures of the bridge in real life and estimating, hey, this is where the bridge is going to be thick, and then where the supports are underneath the bridge. You'll see the floating greenery. You won't be able to see the base of that pile. Yeah, we can make floating texture if we want it, or floating land tiles. But because this is blocking the perspective from every angle, we shouldn't be too worried, considering no one's going to see it unless they really look under this. You may have noticed this color. This is a special color on the palette that makes it so I can create a block that looks really similar to the tarmac color. This allows you to build underneath things like track without the surface of the path interrupting or glitching through. Okay, so we got that final texture down. I think the goal of this area is to make the park entrance kind of over here, and I mean like Roller Coaster Tycoon park entrance over here, so that people are going to be walking up and down this pathway. But because it's a double wide pathway, I probably want to change it back to single. So for the time being, I'm going to eliminate the inner path and just make 2 separate big paths. So it's going to look kind of funky because these blocks have little splotches and it's super grid-like. But that's when you're going to move some tarmac over it, or you're going to decorate around it to block off the sightlines. So for instance, all of these little circles are planters, and in real life they're just like one giant bush. We don't have a object that's going to make that look very good for now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant bushes like this in a circular pattern all the way around each one of these, and we're just going to live with that for now. And you can see some of the bushes are like glitching through. If you stack something here or there, maybe it fixes that every now and then. But for now, we're just going to kind of leave it rough draft form and do that for now, and then come back later and fix these up. Okay, so now what we got to do is I'm going to be looking at some real life images, and we're going to look at the supports, which just look like cement columns. They've got some arches in them in real life, but for now, what are we going to do? We're going to rough draft it. So you'll see I'm going to put this monorail track here. I'm going to paint it, and then I'll probably stack it. And I'm going to use the tile inspector to do that. This is why hotkeys are so important. So you've got a whole stack of them right there. And that's kind of what they look like in real life, other than the fact they have like little arches in it, which is a little bit more decorative. But we'll be able to do that in the future. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spans. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spans. So we'll be able to do that and make it look as accurate as possible. Okay, so now we find ourselves at the point where the bridge is not long enough to go over, but the bridge is a sort of a Y right here, and it cuts across in this angle. So to get that, we're going to have to use some diagonal pieces, sort of at not a perfect diagonal, because you just can't do that in the game. I'd really love to go 60%, or what we would consider like a half diagonal. And I know there's ways of doing it in the game. We might have to take a look on how to do it later on, but for now, we're just gonna overlap some steel block pieces. And you may notice as well that this is probably a bridge that's going downwards so that it meets the parking lot level, which is going to be a little bit lower than this. We'll just have to edit that later, but for now we're just going to be building it the way it's shaped, and then we'll figure out incline and all of that later on. So from further away, it doesn't look as bad, but yes, up close you can really see, like, okay, it's really jagged. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle piece. But you know, we'll work at it. We'll try to figure out the best things we can do for it. And from then on, we'll be working on making it look more natural in the future. But let's keep doing those supports. So to me, this looks pretty thin. In comparison to like the real life supports, they don't look this thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some alternatives using the ride switching and see what we can find that might look a little bit better. I wonder if I can stack 2 track types on top of each other, and maybe that will make it look more uniform. I think that's what we're going to do. Just stack on stack track. We're going to have to really figure out what it looks like when it's not covered up by most of the bridge. But for now, I think that's what we're going to do. And maybe cap it off with a single spine from monorail. So this is going to take a while. I'm going to probably do this off screen and then hit you back in a sec. Editing will make this a lot quicker. I stacked the two different track pieces. We've got like vertical drop coaster and then car ride. And it looks a little bit thicker. I think it looks a little bit nicer. Hopefully we can move on, maybe come back to this in a later situation. I'm looking at some reference pictures of the park, and it looks like this wall is white. And maybe it's white, maybe it's not, but when I look at some like YouTube videos on the project, they've got white fences up here, and these are like white and blue planters. So perhaps this is white, and we'll come back to it next time, or maybe in, you know, maybe when I'm not looking at this part, maybe when I'm not streaming the park, I'll come back to it and color it differently. But for now, what we need to do is add a fence on top of this so that it looks safe to walk over. We got some railings, and yes, believe me, this feels super colorless, and we'll have to do more to add some foliage and stuff. But for now, this is what we're looking at. The park originally had a monorail that would come through, well, not a monorail, but like a bus that would come up through here, go around this loop, drop people off up here, go all the way around. But the more modern era of the park actually has a building right here that I'm sure is like a security check. Then people get through here and then give their tickets and enter the park. So what we're going to do is think about where we're going to put this building and potentially add some more details to this to break up the gray. And there sure is a lot of gray. On the images I'm seeing, there's actually more planters along these railings. So it's probably going to be broken up just a little bit more. And then also we get to take creative liberties to really break up the path if we so choose. So now we're going to build the park entrances for RCT. I think the best bet is to put the park entrances here, not the building per se, but like the gates here, so that guests will have an easier time pathfinding. I think if I put them too far to the side, guests over here are going to be like, I can't find it, or I can't find it, when in actuality they just need to walk over here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the park exit over here, and then we'll just put a rough estimate of where we're going to build like the parking lot. In real life, there's sort of a road that comes straight through here, and then these pathways go out into the parking. So it's going to be a little tough to build like a direct walkway there, but maybe I just do what I want to do on this and build a parking lot as I see fit. Sort of a parking lot. The details aren't going to matter as much when it comes to accuracy. So let's go ahead and open sandbox mode and build some park entrances. There we go. Okay, so the gates are open, the gates are working. I'll just have to finagle the park fences and all of that in the end. Clean that all up. Okay, so we've got people coming into the park. That's going to be important. Nobody's going to be happy because I'm going to delete this ride eventually, and they're all just going to want to leave. So for the time being, we're going to save, and then we're going to come right back. I'm back. So I expanded the freeway lines, and I mapped out sort of the parking lot / pathing. So what I'm going to do really quick, hopefully quickly, is I'm going to redo the pathing for the entrance to the park for the peeps, because later on we'll be decorating this and making it look a lot nicer. But for now, I just wanted to make sure we got the proportions right. This is kind of how it looks like in real life. We've got some out-arching pathways that go into the parking lots, and then there's sort of a slope right here that kids like to roll down the hill. I saw some videos where somebody was like vlogging back in 2005, where people on the last few days of the park, they would leave the park and then roll down the hill. Pretty funny stuff. Okay, let's get to it. Now we're going to test it again. We're going to give it a large tram, and we're going to see if the people make it into the park. Looks like they're making it all the way around and all the way out. So that's fantastic. And we are going to remove guests, because they're going to be pissed that none of the rides are accessible. It's going to cap out this portion of the episode. I think that's enough for today. I think the next one we're going to go to is we're going to build that entrance and then maybe extend this plaza, potentially clean up this area. So look forward to that, or maybe I'll do something completely different. I don't know. You'll just have to come back and see. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.